just for brand awareness, it's for your SEO, it's for your trust, your credibility.
Right.
Especially in recent years, there's a lot of scaremongering. You'll see those headlines where it's like, if you eat this food, you're going to die, or these kind of scaremongering headlines. If you're associating yourself as a brand with these headlines, it's just going to lead to the public thinking badly of you.
What is a bad PR agency?
PR agency that doesn't deliver good results for clients. It doesn't know what journalists want to write about, doesn't know kind of how to work with influencers. And then there's also the PR agency that maybe will deliver good results for clients, but actually is treating its employees really badly. So it kind of in the long term, having unhappy employees is not going to be great for your long-term strategy.
The feel-good factor, what does it mean, in practice?
From our perspective, we're very analytical in everything we do in terms of web traffic increasing, sales increasing, brand awareness increasing. We also look at social listening, so conversations on social media and what people are saying about a company, and you kind of track that positive sentiment and if that's increased or decreased.
Hello everyone, this is Shubham Tiwari. I'm the Associate Director of Content Marketing and Socials at Phyllo, the universal solution for social media background checks and influencer vetting. My guest today is Riannon Palmer, the founder and CEO of Lem-uhm, a PR and communications agency that puts purpose and well-being at the core of everything it does. After experiencing burnout at traditional PR agencies, Riannon set out to create something different, a feel-good PR agency that not only supports brand's purpose or making a positive impact, but also prioritizes employee wellness. With Lem-uhm working with alongside purpose-driven startups and scaling brands, Riannon has been at the forefront of reshaping PR with authenticity, ethics, and emotional intelligence. She's also an award winner, a LinkedIn top voice, frequent contributor to BBC, HuffPost, PR Week, and more. Riannon, welcome to Impulse.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
First of all, is this the right pronunciation of your name, Riannon?
Yes, Riannon. Yeah, it's a bit complicated.
Okay. Great. Before I come to Lem-uhm, please tell us what is a bad PR agency?
Good question. I think there's a lot of them, unfortunately. I have lots of people that come to me and they've been burnt by PR and they've had bad experiences where people don't get them good press coverage. So I think there's kind of two sides of a bad PR agency. I think there's a bad PR agency that doesn't deliver good results for clients. It doesn't know what journalists want to write about, doesn't know kind of how to work with influencers, and then in turn, it doesn't deliver good results. And then there's also the PR agency that maybe will deliver good results for clients, but actually it's treating its employees really badly. 91% of UK PR professionals have had mental health struggles in the past year. And these are the same results that come up every year in the annual PRCA survey. So it kind of in the long term, having unhappy employees is not going to be great for your long-term strategy, because it's why there's such a big high turnover. Lots of people I've seen as well just leaving the industry altogether. So there's lots of things, unfortunately, I think in the agency world that could be changed to improve the quality of the work that we deliver for clients and also deliver the way we treat employees. I'm a big believer in if you have happier employees, then it's going to lead to better work for your clients, because then people are more creative, more engaged. They really want to grow your agency. Whereas if people are stressed and they're just always looking for their new job, they are not going to be able to deliver great results.
Yeah. And you yourself started Lem-uhm after experiencing burnout in the PR industry. What was that moment, that tipping point that made you choose, I need to build something different?
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic as well. So it's always kind of crazy in the PR industry, and it's always crazy hours and a lot of stress load. But then lots of my colleagues have been put on furloughed. So it meant that the rest of us that were left, were just working even crazier hours. So it was kind of 12-hour days and the weekends and not really having any rest in a very high pressured environment. So it kind of just got to a point where I started having panic attacks. And I just knew this isn't the way I wanted to work. I wanted to work for a better type of PR agency. And then when I looked, there wasn't any. So I wanted to fill that space to be that PR agency that I wanted to join and to prioritize both happiness for employees and for clients.
Right. And you write that there is a correlation between feel-good PR and brand optimization. What do you mean by that?
I think kind of being able to position yourself in a positive way is really key. I think in the PR industry, especially in recent years, there's a lot of scaremongering. You'll see those headlines where it's like, if you eat this food, you're going to die, or all these kind of scaremongering headlines. Actually, if you're associating yourself as a brand with these headlines, it's just going to lead to the public thinking badly of you. You want to be positioning yourself against kind of positive emotive feelings, especially in the kind of society we're in now. There's lots of negative news, and actually people are looking for something positive and positive, ethical brand. There's a lot more movement, especially in certain generations, toward wanting to shop with ethical brands. So you need to be making sure you're really authentic and you're not just kind of scaremongering for scaremongering's sake to get PR. And I think this is something that consumers are increasingly more aware of. And there has been a trend of some brands kind of being more careful about it, but you also do see lots of brands still kind of going around that same space where they're kind of creating these scary headlines, or on the other side of it, they're greenwashing or rainbow washing and kind of saying that they're doing amazing stuff when they're actually not kind of doing the principles in action.
Right. You also, talk a lot about purpose-driven marketing. So can you tell us what it is and how do you ensure that the brands you work with align with Lem-uhn's values of creating a happier world? And what is your idea of happier world?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a very idealistic thing sometimes, I think, especially in the world we live in. I think it's difficult because sometimes people feel like you can't have much of an impact in your purpose, or if you're a small brand especially. But actually, if everyone kind of tries to do their bit, then there'll be an improvement in society. And so kind of everyone having equal opportunities, equal rights, building a better place. We work exclusively with companies that are helping build a better place for people and the planet. So lots of purpose-led businesses, improving people's lives. And we also recently became a B Corp. So that's been something to help us kind of really show that we're doing the good work and have that kind of accreditation. And likewise, lots of companies are kind of having that similar accreditation to show that they're doing that good stuff. So for us, it's really important to be supporting the good guys that are doing the good work. Because I haven't always worked on good stuff in kind of PR agencies, sometimes you're chucked in all sorts of things that are having less positive impacts on the world. But as PR is so powerful, it's important to make sure that you're working on the good stuff. I mean, PR itself was born out of Sigmund Freud's nephew. He started kind of PR because he was inspired kind of looking at how we could use psychology in marketing. And the first campaign, the first major campaign, was to encourage women to smoke cigarettes, because previously it wasn't kind of cool for women to smoke. So they associated them with the Statue of Liberty, and they were kind of these symbols of freedom and that kind of whole psychology marketing. And then if you look at the results after, there was a lot more lung cancer in women after this campaign because it did increase women to smoke. So PR can be powerful, but it can also be used for bad. So what we're trying to do is making sure that we're having that positive impact instead.
Right. And, coming back to the feel good factor, what does it mean, in practice? Let's say a brand looking at results, how does that, feel good factor translates into, numbers?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we're very analytical in everything we do. I think in PR, people can kind of get annoyed sometimes because someone will say, great, you've got these pieces of press coverage, but we're always looking at what's the end result. So if that's in terms of web traffic increasing, sales increasing, brand awareness increasing, kind of looking at even like Google Trends and whether people have been searching and talking about things in a more positive way. We also look at social listening, so conversations on social media and what people are saying about a company. And you can kind of track that positive sentiment. And if that's increased or decreased. Obviously, sometimes there's stuff that's outside of our control, but on the whole, we're making sure that we're associating our clients in a positive way. The feel-good factor for us, feel-good PR, means that we're working on the positive stuff and also creating a happier environment for employees, because I think it all kind of works into one and it all feeds into the other.
Right. And I'm glad that you spoke about social media, because more and more influencers are, getting into the fray of marketing. I'm sure you're also working with some. So how do you, you also referred back to doing good work with good people. So how do you manage to find good influencers, let's say, or how do you avoid PR disasters like Kanye West is going through right now, right? Meltdown, literally. So how do you avoid that as an agency?
Yeah, there's sometimes the more people that are involved in a campaign, the more they can go wrong. Like when we have had like celebrity brand ambassadors or things like that. And if a bad story comes out, then obviously it can reflect like badly on a brand. But I think it's been really interesting, the influencer marketing world recently. I think lots of people have lost trust in it because it's become a whole different kind of world to how it used to be. And kind of everyone can be an influencer now. And there's been a lot more kind of, for example, influencers having like bots to pretend they've got followers and kind of fake engagement and things like that. So it can be really tricky. And from lots of conversations I've had, people have kind of fallen out of love with influencer marketing. So it's about rebuilding that and showing that you can have these trusted relationships. We quite often will recommend with our clients is working with more niche audiences, more kind of smaller engaged audiences, as they can have a bigger effect. And those kind of people that really want to get behind a brand and be kind of authentic to show that why they like a brand is much better than a kind of an influencer that has been kind of posting about every brand. That's kind of a big warning sign for us, making sure that we're looking at the backstory about kind of who the influencer is, kind of obviously from in terms of analytics, but also what their posting, who they're partnering with, the causes they're discussing online, and making sure that it would be an authentic fit rather than just kind of using someone for their voice. Because if someone has said something negative about kind of the industry that our client's in, and then we want to promote the client, it's not going to feel authentic and it's not going to work because that audience probably won't be the right fit for our client.
Right. Can you give us finer details of, how you're doing social media background checks, how many influencers you vet, let's say in a day or in a week or in a month, and how do you align that, with the values of a brand or any guidelines basically?
Yeah, I mean, it's no day is the same in the PR world as you'll probably know in the marketing world. And so we don't have kind of a set amount that we're vetting, but we do look through a lot. We use kind of different systems and platforms to look at influencers. And then also that is that real person check. It's been interesting, obviously, with the increase of AI and how much work AI can support you with now. But there's kind of, you always need at the minute anyway, that kind of human to check what a person is, and you have that human aspect of being able to vet someone. Whereas AI and some tools, they haven't been able to kind of decipher yet kind of the whole picture and the holistic view about if someone's worth working with. So from us, it will be things like obviously your kind of your reach, your engagement, looking at the amount of fake followers, looking about where they're based as well, kind of topics they're interested in, who they've worked with in the past, how much kind of sponsored ad content they have compared to the organic content, and then making sure that we're making a holistic decision as well. We usually like to give our clients as well like a scoring system that we have internally to do with their posts and their engagement rate. And then we also like to look at this after a campaign to measure if the engagement rate we predicted is actually come out at the end, because sometimes it can, as much as you can predict and think about these things, at the end of the day, if a product isn't really aligned with that brand, or maybe it was a kind of a time when their followers were less engaged or there was more going on in the world, you might not have the results that you'd wished for. So it's kind of that learning result and making sure that we're looking at it from a long-term perspective as well, that kind of authenticity. So if you can work with an influencer not just once, I think you're going to have a lot better results, because people don't see something once and generally buy from it. Unfortunately, it's all those touch points, and it's why marketing generally needs to be working together. You can't just be doing PR and influencers. You need to be doing your paid ads. You need to be doing your email newsletters, your social media, because there's so many touch points that you have to reach someone with. I think it used to be different kind of 10 years ago, but things have changed really in the world, how everyone's so busy and they're kind of not taking as much notice. It's really important to make sure that everything is working together.
Right. So can we say that currently you're doing a mix of manual intervention as well as some AI tools that you're trying? Is that the right mix you have right now?
We use a few different platforms, and then we make sure that we have it look at it from a holistic perspective as well, because as much as kind of the platforms and tools will tell you, you need that human approach to kind of being able to look at someone's profile. And I think sometimes when you hear about brand slip-ups, it's maybe that there was less of that human approach and they've missed something that has kind of gone in, because when we look at it from our perspective, you can kind of spot something easier than a machine can sometimes see it. But I think in a few years' time, I think the technology will be improved and things are always changing. And for us, it's really important as well to stay on the trends and being able to follow and use technology rather than being left behind.
Yeah. I mean, we, for example, at Phyllo are doing, social media screening APIs, which is essentially helping brands automate influencer background checks, say brand safety, compliances. How important do you think it is going to be for, agencies like yours to have access to tools like ours or, APIs like that?
Yeah, I think it's really key to making sure that you can kind of use technology as much as possible. I think something else that can be really useful about it is lots of kind of junior people come into a job and they just do admin for the first 2 or 3 years of their jobs. But as much as we can use technology to reduce this and kind of be that first check, they can kind of be that influencer assistant, that PR assistant to do that first kind of check on influencers, and then you can kind of have that kind of quick manual overlook. So using technology can be really good to make everyone's lives as easy as possible.
Right. PR is moving fast. As you said, no day is the same in PR with AI, social media, creator marketing shaping the space. What's one major trend in PR that brands should be paying attention to right now? Maybe a brand manager listening to this conversation, thinking of choosing an agency to work with. Why should they use Lem-uhm over other agencies?
Yeah, there's so many trends in PR at the minute, and I think it's really interesting that there's some brands that are really ahead of the trends and some brands that are still kind of thinking digital PR is new. So it kind of really depends where you are at in your journey. I think what we've seen a lot is kind of journalists wanting to make sure that they're doing the personal story as well behind a kind of a campaign. It can be especially good to kind of get your brand messaging in, as if you have, like we did a campaign recently for a client on the PIP postcode lottery. So this is a disability benefit, and how depending on where you live in the UK, you might get approved for disability benefits or not, even if you need them. But we also incorporated our client's personal story and kind of used multiple elements and multiple assets to give journalists, because if you kind of just give them one route to be able to write about the client, it kind of limits yourself. But kind of fitting in that personal story as well can be really popular. So with as many of our campaigns as possible, we're always trying to kind of think about how we can fit in some more messaging for our clients and get that personal side of things. We also, because we focus on traditional and digital PR with all of our campaigns, we're kind of trying to think of how we get the benefits of the link building with the benefits of the brand awareness. So bringing in that personal element just gives you more of that brand awareness element and getting that personal story in. And so I think that's definitely a really interesting element. And then there's also been a kind of a lot of discussion at the minute in terms of AI and how kind of AI search tools are going to change the way PR is and kind of the way the marketing build is. I feel like it's only been in the past year really that now you search on Google and it comes up with that kind of AI aspect of what you've searched for, or same with ChatGPT. And PR has been suggested to going to be driving that trend a lot more, because those high-ranking websites like your BBC's, the Times, all of those kind of key publications, one of those publications that come up high. So if someone is searching for the best dresses to wear to a wedding, for example, if there's a roundup in kind of your key publications, those are the publications that are going to come up in that AI roundup. And how do you get into those publications? You get into them with PR. So it's been really interesting to see, especially from kind of, for example, the founder of Moz, which is one of those key SEO platforms. He suggested it himself. So it's been a societal shift. And I think, as the founder of Moz said himself, PR can sometimes be one of those overlooked things, especially if something's got to go. PR has sometimes been one of those things that's been cut, but it's increasingly kind of showing how PR is not just for brand awareness, it's for your SEO, it's for your trust, your credibility, kind of your thought leadership, your educational piece. It's that kind of huge number of roles in one. So yeah, it's always changing, but I think kind of staying at the top of the trends and making sure you're learning and seeing how you can adjust your strategy to your business and the trends is really key.
Right. Last question on social media background checks and influencers. Do you think influencer vetting should be stricter for brands in particular industries like sustainability, wellness, social impact? Because you're not just creating any content, right? You're creating content for wellness. So how do you look at, the segments of industries working with influencers, having, this really important aspect of social media background check for influencers?
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially in the world at the minute where lots of these social platforms are turning back on fact checking and things like that. So it's more of a responsibility on the brand to check that everything is authentic, while lots of the big tech companies are turning away from diversity inclusion and kind of checking everything is actually factually correct and not just putting stuff out there. And so it's now more important than ever for brands to making sure that they're putting authentic content out there and kind of filling that gap with the tech companies to kind of taking back their space in the conversation. And so yeah, I think it's now more important than ever, especially if you are a brand that really wants to show you're authentic. It's going to be really damaging if something you put out is with someone that isn't the right fit for your company, and making sure kind of that conversation is accurate. Even from a case of kind of the advertising standard authorities, they've been really hot recently on making sure that people are following the guidelines, putting out truthful information, and also putting out kind of your sponsored, your paid. There's been a lot of conversations at the minute, and so I think it is really important. Key categories, obviously, like sustainability and kind of those key conversations are even more important, but actually I don't think it should just be just those categories. If you want to be an authentic, trusted brand,
right,
you need to be making sure that whatever category you're in, you've vetted the influencers, that they're a right fit for your brand and that they are going to be authentic, and also try and predict if there might be any kind of things that come out of it about them that are controversial in the future. It can be tricky sometimes because we don't have kind of spores that we can see into the future, but could be something that's really damaging, especially if you have like a long-term brand ambassador for your brand, and then there's a big story that comes out that they've done something bad that is going to reflect bad on your brand, unfortunately, even if it's outside of your control.
Right. So nowadays, do brands have an expectations? Do they have an expectation that you have, some AI tools working on your side to make sure, the vetting is properly done? You're not working with, somebody who's going to do something, fragile at the end of the day. So do brands come up with this expectation that you're tech savvy, you're AI driven at this point?
No, I wouldn't say so at all. I think it's like with anything, it's client relationships and they trust you. So they trust you to do your job well. So I don't think there's any expectations on clients that they expect you to be doing a certain thing. Us anyway, clients trust us and they know that we deliver good results. So they trust us to be doing all the kind of the work in the background. I think largely as well, clients have their own things that they're doing. They have their own strategy and internal meetings and the kind of things that they need to be delivering. So they don't have the time to be thinking about, are you using these platforms? Most of them just expect us to know how to do our job and trust us to do it really well. So yeah, they're not checking from their side, but I think it's important for an agency to be making sure that they are using technology to support them to do their job to the best of their abilities.
Right. And how big is Lem-uhm at this point in time? How many people are working at Lem-uhm? How many brands that you have? Influencers also, if you can give us
we are a team of 4 brands, kind of a number of brands. I don't have that figure off the top of my head. From the kind of the likes of Rosetta Stone, we've recently started working. We have a couple of disability brands as well, wellness, fitness, beauty. We work with lots of change makers in the consumer space. And then in terms of influencers, it depends really, because we do it sometimes we'll do influencer retainers for clients and sometimes we'll do projects. So it depends what we are delivering for clients and kind of certain months and what's going on. Will depend on how many influencers we'll use.
Right. Now, coming to you, Riannon, you're a LinkedIn top voice in PR and marketing. What role has personal branding played in growing Lem-uhm, first of all? And what advice do you have for founders looking to start their own thought leadership? And let me add the third question. Does thought leadership include some PR aspect, or how does a PR agency help in thought leadership?
Yeah, I think for me, I use a kind of thought leadership and LinkedIn in particular, just to remind people that we exist, because I don't like to do a hard sale. So it's kind of a space to kind of just re-engage with people and remind people we're there, educational and insightful content, so we can kind of show who we are, what we stand for. And then when the time is right, they know that we exist and we're there and we can kind of re-engage with them. But yeah, I think it's really important these days to be able to show the people behind the brand. It's a little bit like what we were talking about earlier. Everyone wants to be able to trust someone behind the brand because there is less trust in businesses generally. So if you can kind of build that trusting relationship with people, for example, I like to share photos sometimes if it's relevant with a post, just to kind of build that relationship with people. We also, in our email signatures, we have like you have your name, your job title, and then we also have a photo against a yellow background because that's our brand color. But it helps to kind of build that relationship and that trust, which is really important. But yeah, personal branding can be it's free advertising, kind of like PR. And PR, you get your place in publications because you know what journalists want to write about, but you don't pay for it. And similar to personal branding, it's this place that anyone can get onto, and it's very easy compared to kind of PR is not so easy to get into the press, but it's that free space where if you write something interesting, you can blow up and get new customers or kind of build trust with retail partners, investors. So it's definitely something I'd kind of recommend anyone to be doing, even if it's just, I'll write a post a week, just kind of to start with and kind of building that consistent presence. As much as possible, we should be trying to kind of use all these free tools, especially if you're kind of a company starting out. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. I would absolutely recommend Riannon's LinkedIn to everyone who's watching. Please follow her and you can get all the updates there. Riannon, what's next for you? What's next for the agency? What is the next big thing you're building? Any announcements that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think the most exciting recent announcement was we got the B Corp accreditation. We applied over a year and a half ago, so it was a long process, lots of kind of paperwork, and we had all those positive policies and practices in place, but it was just kind of making sure that we were sharing it in the way that they need it in kind of different documents. And it was a long process, so that's been really exciting to get that accreditation and to be able to join the community and kind of be able to speak and engage with more B Corps. So that's been really exciting. And then in terms of our direction, it's kind of growing the company and continuing on the path. We always say we're really good at PR and we kind of are sticking in our lane and focusing on that. And then we always partner with other companies that are specialists in their area. But yeah, we've had some really exciting client wins, kind of making sure that we're working with those companies that are building a better place and are like-minded to ourselves, which has been exciting. We've also been experimenting a little bit more with projects, which we've always been a bit nervous about because PR is one of those things. Sometimes if something else comes up in the news agenda, there's like an election or a big company has done something, then it can be really tricky to get your space. So we only do projects when we know that we're definitely going to be able to secure some great coverage for clients. So we've recently done a founder storytelling project and we have just launched a summer product project. And we're always kind of trying to think about how we can make our services more accessible and help those startups become good companies. We know the power of PR and how much it can help your revenue. So if we can help these early startups to get to the stage where they might need our help in the future, we love to do it. And for us, we've kind of worked from companies from all different stages, from kind of founder-led startups to global companies. So just trying to make sure that we're making our services as accessible and can support as many companies as possible is what we want to stick with. While delivering great service, we also want to make sure that we are continuously listening to our employees and creating that happier place to work in that I wanted to work in so many years ago. So I'm just continuing on that path as we go into our 4th year now.
Right. Last question. Is there any story behind the spelling of lemon? Can you
Yes,
tell us?
there is. So we, 6 months into the company, another company with a similar name tried to sue us, and we had to rebrand. Yeah, it was a very fun time. It was one of those things. I was quite young when I started the company generally, and you kind of don't think that you need to be kind of having a name and copywriting a name. You kind of just start a company and want to kind of deliver PR results for someone, and you don't think about the back things that go into it. So we had to rebrand, and we wanted a name that was really unique. So we spelt it phonetically and copyrighted it, so no one could try and sue us again. Yeah, it was one of those rubbish things that happened at the start, and was kind of one of those things that could have stopped the company before it really got started as well, to be honest. But now, kind of the rebrand, I look at it as a good thing because people often compliment our brand, and it really fits in with kind of our feel-good PR agency, kind of the big lemon colour and the lemon as well. The lemon was also already our emblem, so it just made sense to spell it phonetically. So there'll be no more problems. It can be a bit tricky sometimes at networking events when someone says, how do you spell it? But then it also means that for example, when people are searching our company, it can be quite easy to find it. Whereas one of the problems companies can have if you have quite a common name, it makes it quite tricky when people are trying to search it. So at least that kind of a uniqueness helps us stand out and makes it easy for people to find.
Yeah. And as they say, when life gives you lemons, make it a PR agency.
Yeah, we like to say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade with our spelling. But yeah, why not make a PR agency as well?
Riannon, last couple of rituals we make our guests go through. Give us a book recommendation. You can tell us the book you're reading right now or your all-time favorite or anything, any recommendation on that front.
Yeah, this isn't a business book. Actually, I have two books, but my favorite book of all time is The Choice by Edith Elgar. So it's a story of a woman who was in the Holocaust, and she survives the Holocaust and then moves to America and becomes a psychologist, a neuropsychologist. I mean, it's the story of kind of obviously going through that really hard time and then kind of learning about kind of all these different stories of the people that she works with. And it's very uplifting, even though the subject matter can be quite depressing. So that's always, I think it's one of those books that change your mindset in life and makes you realize the importance of being optimistic. And then my second book would be a book I recommend to a lot of people. So when I joined my first PR agency, when I started my career, we had to do a personality test to get the job because they wanted an even split on the team of people with different skill sets and personality types. And then when I was in the role, you have like color training and like learn about different personalities and how to spot them and adjust your style to suit them. And there's a book called Surrounded by Idiots, which is about how the opposite personality type to you often think, why are they being stupid? Why are they being an idiot? But it's really interesting in terms of obviously sales, but also kind of just networking and marketing PR. A big part of PR and the differentiator, I'd say, compared to other forms of marketing is it is sales. We are selling to journalists and kind of building those relationships and convincing them to cover our clients. So being able to understand how people differ, their different personalities and how to adjust can be great for all sorts of things. So I'd always recommend that to anyone, even if you're not in kind of the business world. It's just useful to know and understand how people work and how their mind works.
Wonderful. Now on to the second ritual. Would you like to nominate another PR agency owner like yours, a thought leader for the show?
I can get back to you. I'll have a think and, if there's someone. There is a B2B agency I recently met and she is led as well. So I can send you her contact details because she is very like-minded to us, but they focus more on the B2B side of things.
Great. Thank you so much, Riannon, for coming on Impulse Season 3. This has been a really insightful interview. We got to know a lot about the processes in place and the thought behind Lem-uhm. The story is also fun. We wish you all the best. We wish you, all the success and the changes that you want to make, into the society. Any last words would you like to say if I didn't ask you any question and you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I always say I think you have to be optimistic to run a business. So trying to making sure that you're kind of thinking of those positives at the end of your day rather than kind of leaving on a negative comment or negative thoughts is always really important. So that's always something that we try and do and practice what we preach with that positive element of the agency.
Wonderful. Thank you so much once again, Riannon. And thanks everyone for watching. Do let us know what you thought of this episode. You can connect with Riannon on LinkedIn. You can find us on YouTube. And there is tons of, fun content as well on our YouTube channel. Do check it out. And yeah, see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's get, PHYLLO.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.